So hopefully you can all see the window of the 3D mapping cloud. Any problems throughout, just send me a message on the chat. But I'll crack on. Right. So some of you will have extracted some data out of the Gibraltar dataset as part of some earlier training on orbit feature extraction. So from there, what we've done is we've just finished that off. I'm going to quick through it in a little bit. I've exported all that data out basically as it was, as orbit mapping data, orbit vector file, sorry. And then I've uploaded the mobile mapping data and those orbit vector files to the mapping cloud, and what you see is basically the result. So I'm going to do a quick run round of the layout of the screen. We'll do that quickly because I think some of you have had a look at that before. Then we'll go into a bit more detail about what we can see and the capabilities. First of all, just to point out that I did manage to get the planar images in. I know during the extraction we didn't have those. So you'll see here on the bottom right, we have a planar image, and you can see how that differs from a panorama. A planar is just a single image. You can still zoom in and out, and you still have the point cloud behind it. But it is there's no panning around, of course. Right, let's begin. So the layout. Orbit has done another little update since in the last week or two to the update. You can now see the icons here on the left-hand side. So this has changed a little bit. It gives you immediate access to the specific tool that you're after. So we have open another view. We can look at other resources, our workspace. We can do the measurement tool. We can do the inspector tool, annotate, snapshot, bookmarks, fly through and slice. So we'll come through all of those in a bit. Down the bottom here, we have the resources tool to add in new resources. We also have a settings view here. Now you might not have all of these if you're clicking on the link. So the bookmarked link doesn't give you full access. So for example, you won't be able to create new bookmarks. It's only because I've got a signed in a user account that it gives me some of these functions. Likewise, you probably won't have the full set of resources as well. So just be aware of that. If there are some things missing, that's because you're just viewing a guest link. On the right-hand side here, we have a few more options. So 3 dots, base maps, search, and some help files. Again, some of these may or may not be there depending on your the type of view that you're in. So here we can just access the console if we are logged in. The console is where you can sort of manage the data. Sort of looking at lists of what data is there, you can create projects and things like that. We won't go into that too much on this session. Base maps, you can change what base map you have in here, and I will show you how to add in a different base maps as well. And then a couple of other options, so help files, and then just search Google. Okay, so the view of the main screen. We have the map 2D view at the top there, and then down the bottom here we can have 3D views or photographic views, and we can have any number of these, depending on the size of your screen, of course. But 3 is quite a good number to work with, and much more than that, and it does get a little bit cluttered. We can drag that up and down, so we can change what we're viewing, how much we want to see. If we want to see more of the map view, we want to see more of that. So that's quite useful. And then in the map view itself, we can actually see what we're viewing in each of the the images below. So number 1, we're looking here. So if we move the panorama in number 1, we'll be able to see the blue cone moving around as we go. Again, likewise, number 2. Okay, that's in 3D. And then this one won't move, of course, because we're not. However, what it will do is, as you zoom in and out on all of these, the cone will go narrower to show your field of view. So if we zoom right in, you can see it's gotten a lot narrower on the top here. Zoom out, not there. So we can also see here, we have the blue dots, which are the panorama positions. And then in here, the 3D view, you can see you have the blue dot here, but you've also got the these 4 planar image symbols there as well, showing where the it was viewed from. For the planar images, where the planar images were taken from. Now in all of these views at the moment, you'll see all of the asset data that we've extracted, and we'll investigate that a little bit more later on. We'll look at some of the attributes of that. We can turn those off and on, and again we'll come back to that. Okay, so we'll start on the going in detail now on the left-hand side, all the functionality that we have. Start at the top. So this here allows us to open up a new view, whether it's a 3D view, a spherical view, or a planar view. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close some of these views down. Okay, and that'll just give us the panoramic image. So we could open another spherical image, as they call them here. So as in the software, you click on a blue sphere. If you do a single click, it will open it in the direction of travel. You'll see here it's actually opened it with the point cloud on top of it. So if we view around, we have the point cloud there. And the second way we can do it is spherical, and then we can click and drag. You can't click and drag on this view. Oh, you can do it, there you go. And that allows, we can then pan around in there. So I don't think you can click and drag. If you didn't want the point cloud to be viewed, you can go to the settings here, viewing, and you can I think this is personally a little bug. I have noticed it last time, and the overlay point cloud image wasn't ticked on. But if you look at the bottom of my screen here, you can just about see the point clouds, but by toggling it on and then off again, they do all come off. So I need to contact all about that. But there we go. So we have our images. We can also open a planar image. Again, likewise, just click up on the map, and it'll open the nearest planar image. Just close down some of these. As you can see, it's already getting a little cluttered. And again, see it's defaulted to open with the point cloud on. So I'm just going to go back into here. See, point cloud is turned off. So we'll turn it back on, turn it back off. And there we go. There's our image, as we would expect it to see. Okay. We can also move around by clicking within the image itself. It'll just jump. You see the blue dots appearing on the screen. You can jump down to the next image, and quite a quick way to move and view the data. Okay, so that allows us to open up another view. We can do another. We could open up a 3D view as well. I'll just show you that. So there, we just click on the map screen where we want to open it, and it'll do a top-down view of where we where we clicked, and then we can zoom in and pan around and see our data. Okay, that one isn't particularly inspiring view. Right, so next, this is probably one of the bigger tabs. We have our resources list. So this lists every resource that we have in the drawing. So starting at the top, global settings. So here's another way we can overlay the point cloud on the image. So tick that, tick it off there. So that's another way rather than going into settings. You can also display the base map in 3D. I wouldn't particularly recommend this, but it does give some sort of context. Yeah, but it just makes it a little bit more jerky. It's quite good for, say, an image, if you wanted a snapshot of just showing where things are with a background map. But generally, I would keep it off and just use the top map. Then we come into the individual resources. So the mobile mapping data is all covered by a single resource up here. So we can expand that down by clicking on there. Then we have our point cloud and the coverage. So the coverage is the blue dots. That's actually the images. So I can turn that on and off like that. We can see the blue dots coming and going. And then the point cloud, again, we can turn that off, and that turns the point cloud off in any viewport that you have it open. Okay. We can also go in and edit each one of those individually. So we currently have the point cloud here. We'll go in and actually edit. So we can edit the full legend of the point cloud, which is how it looks basically. So as you can see here, we've got it currently set to RGB, red, green, blue for the photographic overlay. But we could change that to intensity, for example, and that will show the reflective value. So where something is slightly more reflective, such as those, it gives a different intensity color to the surrounding pavement and the ground. You see the road markings come up differently there as well. And we have things like height. And then, for example, with height, we could apply the ramp style as how that is colored. So it's applying it to the global data set here. But we could apply it to the view. So therefore, every time we move the view, it'll actually change depending on what we're looking at. We can also apply it to a range. And that shows you set your range here. So it's at every meter it's now doing that. So we can change it to say 10 meters or something like that. Which is a 10-meter ramp. But the global is probably the best one. We can also change the brightness of the cloud, the size of the points. Some people like nice small points. I think it gives a nice crisper image. Some people like big chunky points like that. Not so sure on that one myself. Usually, I do between 1 and 3 is probably quite good. Once you get above this sort of level, it does look a bit weird. And you can set the transparency as well. So, say you had it overlaid, you could actually have the transparency set so you can view more of the image behind the point cloud. Just put that back on there for now. And the last thing we can do is change the view depth. So at the moment it's set to 50 meters. That's why it was whenever I move in and out, you can see that the point cloud appears and disappears. But let's set the view meter to infinite, and then we'll be able to see everything all at once. So we're going to play with that. Okay. Coverage, a lot fewer options here. It's basically just the color of the blue dots and the view depth, so how far you can see the blue dots going off into the distance. So that's how you can view mobile mapping data. This just gives you some other options as well, so you can move it up and down the list. You can zoom to your resource extent if you're trying to find it. You can look at metadata, and you can close it as well. We don't want to close that at the moment. Now, all these ones below are all the various the themes that have been extracted. So we have things like point data. We have, let's find, so line, oh no, that's pedestrian guardrail. Here we go. So that's a line data there. We also have paved areas. So that's a polygon. So we'll deal with each one of those. Again, point data, you can edit how the points look. Here you can change their icon. You can change the size of them, the opacity, and then the vector data is an overlay. So if you'll see if we actually find one, there's some up here. You can actually stop them from appearing. Good. There are some that are now turning off. The lines, again, very similar. You have, again, you can change the color of them, the opacity, the line width, the view depth, the same, and polygons are very similar. Okay, so that just allows you to edit your resources a bit if you're not happy with the color or how they're viewing. There's that. Okay, so that's a very quick run through. Feel free to go and have a play with those with that link I sent across. It's you won't mess anything up by playing around with that link. Okay, so the workspace next on the list. So this just shows how your workspace looks. Okay, so at the moment I have I'm going to arrange my views horizontally, and also I have my plan reference view at the top. So this all comes down to personal preference. We can have it like this if you like. If you like, you can have it at the map view at the bottom. This is just personal preference. I think for a sort of a standard widescreen, having the map view at the top and then the views horizontally. If you start having the views vertically or something like that, it just doesn't work. And tiled again. Tiled, well, we've only got 2 in, so it'll be the same as horizontal. But if you added another spherical image. Yeah, you start building up a tile. So that's, again, that comes down to personal preference. You can have a play with these if you really want to. I tend to think it's a gimmick. You can have all kinds of weird and wonderful backdrops if you really feel like you must play. I tend to prefer none. So personal preference there. Measure. Okay, so this is where we can do all kinds of fancy little measurements. There are points, distance lines, areas, continuous ones. I won't run through all of them. I'll leave them to you to have a play. Those that have done the extraction sessions with me will know exactly what the majority of those will do. But just a brief idea of how it works. We'll measure a point. All you do is clicking on the point, and then you can click on here. It's using the point cloud in the background. You can see it appearing on the top screen. Obviously, just be aware that you're not, just be careful, I should say, that you're not picking on any cars. As you see here, we have not picked on the car, but there's plenty of traffic data, traffic here, which we could have picked on. So just always be aware of that. The default measurement comes here, and then we can save that down here. So that becomes an ID. So if you want to extract some very basic measurements out, some coordinates, you can do here. You can give it a code, you can give it a comment, and you can export these measurements. Probably the key one for us would be a KML, a standard one that everyone can bring into Google Earth with. Line, sorry, Also, you have distance measurements, so that's a single distance. It's quite useful if you want to find a vertical distance, for example. Let's find the vertical distance of this lamppost. And then we can click down to the ground here. And if we can look in here, we can see where we're clicking to, and you can actually swap halfway through if you want. So say there is a car in the way of this view. Think, well, I'm clicking on the ground, but it's still up in the sky somewhere. If we zoom out and see, if we can look on this, you'll see there is a car here that it's probably picking on. So we can then just quickly move to this one and just, ooh, it's a bit too far, just click on the ground there. And it'll give us our vertical height from there to there. Lines, standard polylines, areas. Yeah, again, nothing. Auto finish gives you an area, gives you all kinds of measurements of that area. Catenary, so useful for cables and things like that, overhanging cables, finding distances to ground, and then volumes as well. So we can find the volumes of buildings or anything like that by taking a measurement on there. Yeah, it's quite good. So yeah. You can square up from the ground. So something like that. Okay. Delete that measurement there. Okay, so that's the measurement tool. I mean, again, have a play with those. Just get rid of them. If you want to just stop measuring, you can click here. It brings up this, and then you can clear it as well. Just clears any measurements. Inspector. So Inspector gives us the opportunity to actually look into some of these assets in a bit more detail. So we can click on the Inspector. We're going to select. We're going to select, say, this one here. So we can see here that that's actually picked up a road traffic sign, and then it'll give us all the information that we extracted when we did our extraction phase. So we can see the things that we actually filled in would be here. So we have a face reflective, face shape, ground surface has been put in, illuminated, it's false. We have the face diameter, face height, so we have the face width because it's probably a triangle, so it's only got one dimension. It's got the mounting height, the number of posts, so all of that information is put in here. You also have some standard sort of metadata in here about who it was extracted by, that sort of thing. And you can do that on anything. You could do that on should I do that on a panorama? So there you go. So that gives you the information on one of the panoramas, the orientation, various things like that. You can select it on that, and highlights it, tells you paved area, tactile paving. So that's really useful for if you've got a lot of assets in there and you want to share that out to customers to show them how to actually find information about their data. Use the Inspector tool. That can, anything that we've dropped in there or put in there for them, so they can have a look at. Annotations now. If you want to have an annotation, you can, there are various different ones, just a pin, for example. You can change the symbol of the annotation. You can put in your annotation there. You can see where it's added in, and then that's just a single marker, but there are text annotations as well. The annotation tag is quite good. So there you go, it actually draws the thing up and you can add some text. And you can, you see it appears there. You can do all kinds of things. You can change the symbol, you can change the color. And then as you can see, it will appear in all of the different views. So if we navigate around here, should be there as well. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So we can. Oh, that's where we're adding annotations. So we can bring in annotations as well from another source. Okay. We can then flip between the annotations. So I'll delete that one. Don't want that anymore. I actually want this one, and we can delete them all. And there we go. So annotations. Again, you can do a number of different annotation types there. Snapshot, as it says, takes a snapshot. So you can either do the reference view, the view 1 or view 2. So the top view, the view 1 here, the ID there, the view 2 there. No, it's straightforward enough. Take snapshot. You can see it appears here, so you've got your annotation on there, possibly done that a different color, you might see it a bit better. If you click on enlarge, shows you that. You can delete it or you can download it. Simple, and then it downloads it as a PNG. Nice and straightforward. So again, useful if you want to quickly get something to someone, a customer, or share it. Bookmarks. Now you won't have this on the link that I've sent you. So this just gives an idea of, this is a list of bookmarks of previous setups that you've had installed, you've done. So for example, the bookmark I sent out was this one here, the RD0035 sample 02, I believe. So if I click on that, that should take me back to where we started everything. Okay, it'll load in exactly as it is. So this is quite a good way to send information out to customers. You can send them a bookmark. Now our one has 5 guest users, so only 5 people could view data at any one time, for example, but you can change that. You can change the number of guest users. And then you can get this view exactly how you like. You can create your bookmark up here, go to new, create a bookmark of this view, and then let's just do a quick one just to show you. Okay, there you go. And then you can share that by making it available for guest users. You have a URL, or you can actually embed it. So you can just copy that and then share that out to whoever you want to view the data. Okay. So bookmarks is good for sharing the data. We tend not to use there are things called publications, which you may have heard. We don't use those much anymore, but I can talk to people about those later on. The reason we don't use this is you have to assign all 5 guest users to a single publication, whereas this way we can set up bookmarks, and you can have as many bookmarks as you want, send them out, and as long as those there's not more than 5 people viewing any of those data at any one time, then you're fine. Okay, fly. Here we go. So if you want a fancy little fly through of your data, you can do that here. You basically, simple as, adding that, okay, and you can either download the flight path, you can send this to people if you want to show people what I mean, and then just play from this waypoint, just for example. Just does a nice little fly through of the data. Might be used, I don't know. I don't think it's quite as good as possibly some of the other ones, but you never know. Might be of interest. Quick overview of the data. Anyway, there we go. Quick overview. Does anyone have any questions? I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, it seems to make sense.
Okay, good. Cool.
The thing I was going to ask was just if you wanted to add more assets as you were going along, is that still just the same as it was? I think I just missed that when you were doing the measuring stuff.
So you can't add new assets in here. This is not
Right.
an asset extraction tool. It is mainly a viewing and sharing tool.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's just kind of measuring what's already there and what you've already
Yes.
done. And that's as far as the measurement's going, right? I see.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you wanted to put something else in, you'd have to go back into the other tool, fix it, and then come back into here. You can't go backwards and forwards within.
No, that's great. Yeah. So you have to go back to feature extraction.
Okay, that's cool. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, I will leave it there. But yeah, feel free to have a play with that link I sent out. And if you come across any questions whilst you're playing with that link, just give us a shout.